Breaking news in the Trayvon Martin case. New reports that the lead investigator wanted manslaughter charges against George Zimmerman. The night of the shooting, that investigator actually filed an affidavit saying he was unconvinced by Zimmerman's version. More on that next. We're back on Politics Nation with more on the breaking news in the Trayvon Martin case. A stunning development. The lead investigator wanted manslaughter charges against George Zimmerman the night of the shooting. That night, the investigator actually filed an affidavit saying he was unconvinced by Zimmerman's version of events. Joining me now from Washington is Joe Madison, nationally syndicated host of Mornings with Madison on Sirius XM Radio. He was at the briefing today on the federal government's role in racial profiling and hate crimes. Let me thank you, first of all, for being here tonight. And staying with me is also Eugene. Staying with me is Eugene O'Neill, former New York City police officer and prosecutor. Joe, before I go to you in the hearing, Eugene, this breaking news, and we're literally getting it from ABC as I'm giving this, is startling. If this lead investigator wanted to file a manslaughter charge, so by the state's attorneys that night, this is the night of the shooting, it wasn't enough to get a conviction. I don't know how they would know that. How would they know within hours of a shooting how much evidence there was and then let the man walk out with his clothes and evidence? I mean, maybe we ought to not only be investigating Zimmerman and the police, but the prosecutor's office. And maybe that's why the first thing they did when we started marching is move the state prosecutor and come with a new special prosecutor. Something doesn't smell right here.
You got it.
Whatever happened that night, which is obviously very much in question, subsequent to that night, day to day, as this has been going on, neither the police nor the prosecutor's office have covered themselves in glory by these kind of selective leaks and this partial information, and it really would be much preferable if they had put this all on the table early on and said, we had an internal debate and this is what happened. It is a shame, and it does hurt public confidence when there seems to be such a slow and paralyzed process to getting this matter resolved.
Well, let me ask you this. If this lead investigator, actually filed an affidavit, it would seem to me he was trying to cover himself or make a record that there was such debate, something that we've not heard of until tonight. How do you handle something like that, Eugene? You were a prosecutor.
Well, I mean, there are disagreements between prosecutors' offices, although in this case, again, I think this, and I believe since the beginning, this is at the end of the day a very relatively straightforward case. This is a case in which somebody surveilled someone, tracked them down, and shot them. And I don't think this is, and there's a unique set of tapes and other evidence that kind of shows you that. So I don't think this is a terrifically tortured case. It is the nature of prosecutors' offices sometimes to be unwilling to take cases they deem weak. And of course, by the nature of self-defense, those cases are inherently problematic cases. Florida makes them even more problematic. But for heaven's sakes, when you look at the facts in this case, it's pretty straightforward. You have a young person is so far, as far as anyone could tell, as close to being totally innocent of anything, being killed. I don't see what so much agonizing was done over. I don't understand why this became such a complicated matter.
Joe Madison, you've covered this a lot on Sirius. You've marched. You've helped us organize. How do you read this breaking news?
I read it, I think, the same way you did in terms of the question you posed. Look, clearly, when you sign an affidavit, you're making a statement that I, in essence, stand on this. I'm covering my rear end. And I would suggest, Al, again, not being a police officer, not being there, it's not just the state's attorney or the prosecutor. This goes to the chief of police, because this kind of disagreement with the lead detective signing an affidavit has to be reviewed by the chief of police, who, remember now, when we were there on Thursday with you, he half step
Right.
down. You remember that? So this
Right.
is a very, very serious development. But most importantly, it just kicks all that right-wing conservative demonization of Trayvon out the window.
Well, and also, Joe, I think that is important is that not only Thursday did the police chief half step down, right before the rally, the governor moved the prosecutor and appointed a special prosecutor. So that may mean, it may not mean, but there may be, said there was some questioning on what was going on in the special prosecutor's office. And this policeman, this investigator filing this affidavit, there may be something here.
And we have to keep our eye, even if there's a grand jury, we've got to have to keep our eye on the special prosecutor, keep our eye on the grand jury, because remember, we won't know who those members are, we won't know where they came from. It was one of the reasons that after I left you on Thursday here in D.C., I announced that April 10th, when the grand jury is supposed to be convened, and didn't realize Geraldo was going to make such a ridiculous statement about hoodies, we said that April 10th should be National Hoodie Day. Hey, look, I want the president, everybody, to wear hoodies to be a statement of solidarity that we're watching. We're watching the special prosecutor. We're watching the grand jury.
Now, Eugene, you were getting ready to weigh in, but let me ask you something. All of these leaks, unnamed leaks against Trayvon, now the leak of the reported affidavit by ABC on the lead prosecutor, could this be coming from the Sanford police to try to get the heat off of them?
Hopefully not, but obviously, I think they acknowledge that some of this is coming from their department, and I think there's some sort of privacy laws that some people are hiding behind. But with this case being such a matter of public urgency, the time is now, to the greatest extent possible. The time was 30 days ago, but it's certainly past time now that all of this evidence be laid on the table so people can see it. If there was an internal debate, if the police debate it with the prosecutor's office, tell people that, particularly in that community, they deserve to have confidence in the system, and this is just undermining that confidence. What I was going to say is that it is my experience that sometimes frontline police people do get it right and are courageous and get overruled, and cases are politicized. So it's encouraging that at least one police person, if ABC is to be believed, saw this in the clear way that I think it's seeable, which is that this was an unjustified killing. It certainly merited an arrest and probable cause on the basis of the evidence that's come to public view.
Well, NBC News is working to confirm this, and we'll see if what ABC is saying. And clearly, I agree with you, Eugene. This is certainly some very serious new developments if it proves to be right, especially the affidavit. I'd also like to know how the special prosecutor could have that night felt there wasn't enough evidence and let Zimmerman walk out of there with clothes and evidence. That really would spell to some serious concerns. Got to move on. Joe Madison and Eugene O'Donnell, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Reverend. And Reverend, condolences on your mom.
Yeah, our love to you and the family.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll stay on top of this breaking news, a potentially crucial twist in the Trayvon Martin case. We'll bring you any new developments as we get them.